The world knows we need Easter. We need to breathe Easter, especially now. We need to practice resurrection. Gerard Manley Hopkins, the poet, in his poem Easter Communion, puts it this way, reminding us that this day, Lent has ended. Pure fasted faces draw unto this feast. God comes to all, sweetness to our Lenten lips. Jesus, you whom the East, with drought of thin and pursuant cold, so nips, breathe Easter now. We need to breathe Easter now. It's fascinating that even Hollywood gets it. Recently, I went to see the movie Cabrini that's out right now about Sister Frances Cabrini in 1889, who came to New York to work with Italian immigrants in a time where, as she says in the movie, that Italian children in the neighborhood she was working in, rats were treated better. And she came to America to breathe Easter now. If you watch the movie, she faces the reality of sometimes church leadership and sometimes the local leadership in the government in New York with some sexism, some discrimination holding her back. And Sister Frances breathes Easter now again and again. But one of my favorite scenes is when the actor who plays Cabrini, Christiana Dell'Anna, she goes to Rome to plead her case. She's a nun in Lombardy, and she keeps writing them letters about how she wants to start a world mission. And in the scene, they sort of tell her to stay in her place. But at one point, Pope Leo XIII, that's there at the time, says to her, "Is it because I'm a woman I must limit my scope?" And the Pope says, there has never been an independent order of missionary women. And Cabrini says, Sister Cabrini, was it not Mary Magdalene who brought news of the resurrection to the apostles? If God confided such a mission to a woman, why should he not confide in us? And it's interesting, the Pope stops. He begins to listen to Cabrini. And the Cardinal says, enough. And he puts him aside and he says, I'm having tea with Cabrini. And they sit down. And her goal is to carry out a world mission. She wants to go to Asia. And the Pope pulls out a box of letters of tragedies of how immigrants were being treated in America. And he says, this box is a tomb of dreams. And as he opens those up and shows those to Cabrini, he says, if you want to start a world mission, to go to Asia, I'd like you to start in New York. And she says, I want to build an empire of hope. But she breathes Easter. Since childhood, Cabrini had had a trouble with breathing issues because of a drowning. And at one time, the Pope says, you know, you've been rejected from 3 religious orders because of the weakness of your constitution. And she says, we can't serve our weakness and our purpose both. And perhaps that's the Easter message, that Peter in the Acts of the Apostles moved beyond serving his weakness and served his purpose. We see a different Peter as he proclaimed the risen Lord today in the Acts of the Apostle. We need to breathe Easter now. And we need people like Sister Cabrini and you and I in our world to breathe Easter now. In a world hell-bent on crucifixion sometimes, we need these signs and seeds of hope. And I would suggest we still carry the wounds of our Good Fridays. But like Mary Magdalene, she leaned into her grief. And it was in the midst of that she, that first apostle, experienced resurrection. And so today, it's like Cabrini. Resurrection is not about leaving behind the suffering of the world. It's as we enter into it and reach out to the brokenhearted, that we are those seeds of hope that bring about resurrection. So we breathe Easter. In a moment, we'll go to the font, and it's the first step of us practicing resurrection this Easter morning. I love the poem by Wendell Berry, where he says in it, practice resurrection. And he gives us this advice. So friends, every day do something that won't compute. Love the Lord, love the world, work for nothing. Take all that you have and be poor. Love someone who does not deserve it. Listen to Carrion. Put your ear close and hear the faint chattering of the songs that are to come. Laugh. Laughter is immeasurable. Be joyful, though you have considered all the facts. Praise ignorance. For what man has not encountered, he has not destroyed. Ask the questions that have no answers. Invest in the millennium. Plant cicadas. Say that your main crop is the forest that you did not plant, that you will not live to harvest. Be like the fox who makes more tracks than necessary, some in the wrong direction. Practice resurrection. We're called this Easter morning, like Cabrini, to build an empire of hope. To breathe Easter now and practice resurrection.